Welcome to be here, and so exciting. And the reason it's exciting is because there are so many issues in the world that need to be resolved. And my feeling is you people, the younger people, are the ones who need to resolve them. You know, there are a lot of little fights, a lot of little interactions, boundaries of the Taiwan Straits, all kinds of issues. But really, I'm. Let me just stop this. I'm at a broader level in terms of what's really important and what's really going on. So even though I'm not a scholar and I'm a little bit more of a tourist, I thought I would tell you a little bit of my background and how I come to think that the issues that we think are important actually are not as important as some of the unforeseen background issues that I'd like to discuss today in terms of the US-China relations. Just by start out, so I was an entrepreneur and I had an idea. I went to Wharton with Donald Trump and had some financial engineering ideas and went to law school at Georgetown here and started one of the very first money funds, and we became quite successful. In fact, we were the highest yielding #1 fund in the country for a number of years. And this is just out of law school, so I had no real experience. I still have no real experience other than doing what I want to do. And what happened is we were becoming successful, and then I was part of the 60s generation, which is a generation that kind of rejected some of the ways and thinking of the older people. In fact, we had an expression, don't trust anyone over 30. And what happened to me is I went to this kind of this countercultural farm to discuss enlightenment. And on enlightenment, there's an eightfold path in the Buddhist. And one of them is right livelihood, which is about how do you lead your life consistent with your values. And so I was with this group of people at the conference, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my claim to fame is to get an extra 10 basis points, 20 basis points more than the next guy, which actually made us the #1 fund in the country. But anyway, it's like, is this what I want to have on my gravestone? Is this what I want to have as my legacy? We beat the next guy in yield. And I started to think about that and realized that, you know, money shapes our world. And how we express our money should really be through our values and what kind of world we want to create. And so I started thinking, and again, I was kind of fortunate, being lucky, and we had some resources and a successful fund. And I decided we should do a fund based on my generation's values, on the 60s generation's values. This is the generation that listened to the Beatles and, I don't know, some smoked pot and sex and all that, whatever. It was a liberating kind of time. But most importantly, they didn't buy into the older generation's values. So we created Calvert Social Investment Fund, which was the first fund to say, you know, values are important. So in terms of environment, we didn't do nuclear power. So all our investments became screened for how do these investments make the better world that we want to see. And it took a while. Actually, it took quite a while for other people in the press and others to see, like, oh, this is interesting, this is different. And then when the financial crisis happened, people go, you know, maybe I don't want my child to work for Goldman Sachs. Maybe there are other values, other ways of being in life. And now the so-called ESG funds, I mean, these are the only funds that are growing in Wall Street right now, is your social, your environmental. People are concerned about sustainability and those kinds of issues. But at the time, it was kind of just an idea that, as someone once said, let 100 flowers bloom. And this was a flower that we felt to bloom. And it's good to see the success and some of the relationships and the communities, the business communities we formed, and some of the nonprofits. And then someone said, Wayne, these people are trying to create an environment fund in China. Maybe we should invest. And I met the people. The name of the company was Less Limited, run by someone from China Power and Light, the Corey family. And I was like, Less Limited, that sounds interesting. And so we became one of 6 investors in what was the first China Environment Fund. People told me, Wayne, you're going to lose money. The Chinese, they don't care about environment. They just want to make money and whatever the externalities. And, you know, there's a way that we're all people. And yes, some things this way, some things that. But at some point, we have to pay attention to the environment. We actually ended up doubling our money in that investment. Around the same time, I met a young Tsinghua PhD who was doing commentary on corporate social responsibility in China. And I said to him, do you have a website? And he said, no, he's a poor student. He didn't. I said, well, I thought, well, I could give him some money, but hey, let's start a business. And so we called it Sintao, and we have Sintao Green Finance. And so this is 15, 16 years ago in Beijing. And now we have offices in 6 or 7 cities, over 100 people. Moody's invested in our subsidiary. And the point is, people like China Mobile wanted to know how to do their sustainability reports. And so we were helpful in many clients like that in terms of how do corporations act in a way that protect the society in terms of water, environment, and these other issues. And again, it's been a wonderful success. We even have something called Sintao Academy, which is about training younger Chinese to be part of this industry that we kind of invented, just as we invented this corporate social responsibility kind of thing. So, you know, given the situations and politics and times and ebbs and flows, you know, right now, young people, I feel, are confronted with a few different alternatives. One is the run run, you know, just get out, get your money out. Things are, the economy, the whatever. And that's one option that some are pursuing, and the family offices going to Singapore and that kind of thing. Another is the Diangping, just lay flat, you know, with some of the changes and what's going on. And 2, while that might be a way, I'm not sure that is the way. One other business I created in Beijing is called ZenFlow. ZenFlow is about this meditation center working on mindfulness, and we use flotation tanks so people can float in this water with no, you know, we have a hutong in Wangfujin, and just to be with yourself and see your own thoughts. So this, in terms of meditation, and in terms of so many of the problems we create for ourselves, this is a way to use a tool to see that we are not our thoughts, that we are something deeper, and that our thoughts were established by childhood, by other kinds of factors, belief systems that no longer serve and function us, and yet they're running us today. And I would say that this goes also into trauma. And, you know, China with the Cultural Revolution, I mean, there's been a lot of trauma and intergenerational trauma, and ways to deal with that have not really been upfront. So we have a situation where there is deeper knowledge inside of us, and somehow we need to be able to express this, to form bridges with those in other countries who are also facing the same issues of trauma, and how do we break through. I mean, you know, I'm a little sympathetic to our general secretary. You know, here he is, Tsinghua University student, and then all at once there's this cultural revolution, and he is sent to a pig farm. Some say he was denounced by his mother. I mean, really, this is a pretty sad situation for President Xi to, you know, be relegated to a pig farm for how many years? And I have to tell you, if this happened to me, I would probably make some kind of, if I'm ever in charge, if I can ever stop this destabilization, if I can ever keep things where this will never happen again, you know, this could be a firm commitment I could make to myself. Now, maybe I'm being a little sympathetic, but I am a sympathetic kind of person. And then, you know, him trying to establish the power of the party in such a way that everything is controlled so that nothing gets out of control. And this goes back to him finding himself on a pig farm when things were out of control. So I sometimes feel like, you know, trauma is all around us, and it creates all these consequences. And instead of run, or instead of Dianping, maybe there's an option about us discovering some of our more basic true selves. I was with this Tibetan woman the other day. She's some Rhodes Scholar, super brilliant, whatever. And she was remarking on how various Chinese are coming to her in this period of things are not fun. And how do the Tibetans who have had their own challenges, how do they keep uplifting? And of course, Tibetan psychology, Tibetan religion, Tibetan concepts, to a lot of us Westerners, are very romantic because they have a lot to do with the psychology of mind. And she was saying how, even though the Tibetans have felt, oppressed or whatever, that they still have this spirit of finding in themselves and in ways to seek this higher path, to seek this road of more self-understanding, and to clear the clouds of our neurosis and the issues that keep us from really extending our love and trust to others. Now, I know this may seem like, who invited this guy to speak? But anyway, but there's a phenomenon going on in New York. I just spent 5 months in New York and Silicon Valley. There's this whole phenomenon going on around awareness, consciousness. A lot of people are using plant medicines. Some people in the Bay Area, microdosing is very popular to be on edge and to build one's awareness and to be able to see how some of your thoughts and some of your attitudes are not so constructive. And this includes being able to be productive at work and to have new insights and breakthroughs. Half of us might be dead right now if this guy wasn't surfing off Santa Barbara and he took one of these psychedelics and he invented PCR. PCR is the basis of biotechnology. He won the Nobel Prize, and he talks about this experience of surfing on one of these mind-expanding drugs as a way to, rearrange how we think into an aha. And people like Steve Jobs and others have commented whether Apple Computer would still exist if he hadn't had some similar experiences. My point is here that we need to basically move beyond this little, whatever, how many missiles you have and submarines. And I mean, this is not the conversation of tomorrow. And the conversation of tomorrow, and what this conversation needs to be built on, is we have this technology, this bête noire of technology that is coming really fast. And it's a very powerful and a very hot tool. And it's going to be difficult to manage unless we have more of a reflection of who we are and what we want as a peoples. And of course, we look at America, we got like almost half the people have some kind of a dysfunction for voting for my classmate, Donald Trump. Sorry to say. I know when I was in China, people go, how could he get elected? Every American we talked to didn't vote for him, but anyway. My point is that, we all, this isn't just China, we all have this challenge of how do we become bigger than ourselves, get to know ourselves, and get rid of some of our past thoughts. I was working on a project in Tucson, Arizona, and one of my buddies, we were going to fund this group doing mindfulness using focused ultrasound. This guy, by the way, is one of the most amazing Chinese people I've ever met. His name is Yibo Xiao. Yibo Xiao started Matrix Ventures, which is the largest venture fund in China, some billionaire type guy. And for him, he's dedicated his life now with his venture fund called Evolve Ventures to work with how does our inner reflect our outer? How can we develop ourselves in ways that, he might invest in 10%, there are various meditation apps, there are other devices. We were looking at a device that would stimulate parts of the brain to help people kind of accelerate into an experience of more oneness, or now I get what people are talking about. Because a lot of these are not something you can read in a book, you need to have experience. So there are these plant medicine in Oregon, and others are going to be statewide permitting more of these transformational sorts of experiences. I was sitting next to this guy who had a big, on an airplane going to Silicon Valley from Beijing, and he had a big chip company. And he said, though, Wayne, the problem is I can manufacture the chips here, but I have to go to Silicon Valley for the designs. They just have a looseness and a breakthrough and a freedom of roaming. And I kind of reflected on that because years ago I read this study about gay people located in areas of creativity, Austin, San Francisco, New York, whatever. And no one knew if there was any correlation or like, well, why is this good? I mean, yeah, we've heard gay people can be more fashionable or something, but it didn't make any sense. Why were more creative areas had a higher concentration of gay people? And then I kind of realized this the other day is it's not about gay people. It's more about a freedom of expression and to have a way that people can have different ideas, people can be themselves, people can explore who they are, and that somehow creates this cauldron of innovation. I will say it's a little sad to me that Hong Kong, from what I hear, and I'll be there next month, has lost some of the, so many people are moving to Singapore, or they don't know what's coming down. And what I'm saying is that if we had a way to talk about the human spirit going forward in terms of innovation, whether it be microchips or other ways of just, that I think there's this potential rebirth. And a lot of us in the West, we learn from Buddhism, we learn from ancient Chinese philosophies on how to do this transformation. I mean, as I say, I was a the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, this is the Beatles and my generation. And that did have to do with some of the drugs and psychedelics. But what happened is the Beatles said, we can't take drugs. There's something beyond this. We want to stay like this all the time with this level of awareness. And so what happened is they came out with this Maharishi, the whole meditation. Again, this is my 60th generation culture, which had a lot to do with managing the culture of the past. My point is that China, from Taoism, from other Buddhism, and the Tibetans, and I remember 20 years ago that a lot of senior people in the party were Tibetan Buddhists, actually. I think it's changed, but my point is that we have a third way, and that third way is to explore ourselves and the richness in ourselves and our values and who we are and what we'd like to do. Now, standing in the way of that is a lot of trauma. And some would say we all have some kind of trauma, childhood, Cultural Revolution, people who died. Okay, well, we have to resolve that trauma and move forward. So my remarks and what I'd like to say is it's like this Bo Shao, this guy who had everything, top venture capitalist in China, billionaire, and what he's dedicated to is how do we move forward in our souls and our spirits and our ability to think, to eliminate traumas and to be able to think more like I am you, you are me, and how can we expand and do this life together. And what I firmly believe is that with China's long-term tradition and long-term philosophies, that China could lead the way if we had that motivation, that spirit, especially the young people, could find ways that we could have this new kind of relationship and reality to all peoples on the planet. I really believe that, and I feel like this is where instead of, I just have to run or I just have to lay flat, there is this other possibility of personal growth, being able to understand our thoughts, what's friendly, not friendly, to read up on various literatures of others who are following this similar path. In fact, Bo Shao has brought some Chinese Air Force generals to work with the MAPS people using these post-traumatic stress syndrome drugs, this MDMA and others, to help with PTSD. And it seems like there is this opportunity for us to heal. And as an American, we don't know too much about history, who struck who or whatever. We're more like going forward. At the same time, we have a lot of dysfunctional Americans who didn't vote the way I feel they should have, but anyway, but who are expressing a disenfranchisement. And reconcentrating on the glorious being that is within every one of us, as one of the Indian slogans go, "Padmeo me Pranam." I feel like we have this opportunity. I mean, we're going to discuss finance, we're going to discuss common prosperity. I know we're going to discuss a lot of issues today. But I just want to say that there is this other new transformation, this other new, something that wants to happen. And it's going to have to come from the younger people. The younger people, it's going to be your world. And I'm fortunate to have been involved with a number of resourceful younger Chinese who are beginning to see like this kind of experiences and this way of helping navigate the world and bringing others along could create this vision that, a world that works for everyone. And with, I think, the Chinese having a chance to really lead the way in bringing us into that, well, what they experienced sometimes in their past. So my belief is that you guys, it's a lot, but it's on you. It's on you. Old people like me are a little harder to change. And it's within you to look at these areas of trauma, look at the area of limiting thoughts, look at the areas of being able to expand your appreciation, your gratitude, and for us to move into more of a, peace and love, whatever, just a true kind of win-win opportunity. So I'm going to end there, and I know we want to get into other details, but I just felt like I want to open this with kind of a hopeful and a challenge to you in a way for you to see that, the fate of the world is really up to the young people to make these resolutions, to move beyond themselves, and to reach into this world where we can all win. And I do believe, and one of the phenomena, I mean, these not millennials, the Gen Z, unbelievable when you go to France or Hong Kong or wherever, and there you have this sharing, this generational sort of ethos, values, and to give it more form in the sense of, I don't want to say a duty, but a mission to find ways that we can move beyond ourselves, which takes a process, which, you don't just snap your fingers, and to see ways that we can reach out to others who are similarly situated in ways that then that can become leadership, as Bo Shao is a leader, to the rest of us to live basically a better life, less stressful, and more purposeful. So I want to thank you for the comment. I will show you an old draft of a Calvert book. I decided to select our logo, and this is back in the, 1980, from the I Ching. So I had my managers, the Book of Changes, I had my managers each roll coins, and I happen to have 5 managers plus myself, which would mean we'd be rolling 6 lines. And and everybody rolled a straight line. And the straight line then created the symbol of Calvert, which stands for the creative. And it's been our way that, when we get in trouble, or how are we going to get out of this situation, or what should we aspire for? But this creative value, and to be creative, was really a guidepost for us in exploring and changing our society in many ways that continue today. And in the same way, I feel like being creative also means you've got to take care of your own self in terms of your traumas or just issues, so that you're willing to move beyond and to find these ways that your generation can build this new world, which is going to be able to sustain us through the challenges of these very powerful technologies coming down the track. So thank you very much, and again, good luck in saving the world, because it's up to you.